Metalhead is a 2013 Icelandic film written and directed by Ragnar Bragason and stars Thora, Bjorg, Helga, bear with me on these Icelandic names, Ingvar, Sigurdsson, and Sveinn Olafur, Gunnarsson. I'm going to go with that. The plot follows a young girl's journey through music and self-discovery after the loss of her older brother. As a few of you know, and probably only a few of you so far, but this was one of the most recent films discussed by myself and some friends over at the Cinema Attacks channel. Check that out if you haven't, by the way. It's a lot of fun. And I liked this film enough to, bring it over to my channel for a review, for a few different reasons, really. First, this is just a really good film. I really enjoyed it. It's just a good film. But second, I'm a big heavy metal fan, which is one of the main themes here. So this was kind of a mandatory, watch for me, I guess. And last, I don't know the reason, but this movie is for some reason incredibly hard to find in any format, at least here in the States. If you live outside of the US, maybe not so hard. I'm not sure. My buddy Tom over at Cinema Attacks actually had to order a standard DVD copy from, I think it was South Korea. And I figured maybe I could, help get the word out on this one. I mean, I think the title of the film itself is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's got a cool, simple title that will obviously get the interest of any metal fan that comes across it. But on the other, I can't imagine, many non-metal fans, flocking out to watch a movie called Metalhead, especially if you've seen the cover. So I guess another reason for me doing this review is, not only to get the word out, but, also to make sure that you understand that you don't necessarily have to be into heavy metal to enjoy this film. I mean, I think it would definitely help, but, only really in relating to Helga's, love for music and heavy metal culture, I guess, for the most part. So Ragnar Bragason, wastes no time, to get to his storytelling here in his own unique way, which I thought was both skillful and effective. Because within the first 5 minutes, we are introduced to our main character, Helga, and her family, living on a dairy farm in rural Iceland. And we see Helga's older brother die in a tragic farming accident. Pretty brutal, graphic, farming accident, too. And dealing a very heavy blow to this tight-knit family. They seem like very real and amazing people, and I'm actually really sorry that we had to meet this way. So Helga takes, the bus to her brother's grave, maybe every day. It's hard to tell. At least it makes it clear that she does it very, very often. I'm going to say every day. And she brings her guitar and plays the Sabotage song, Strange Wings, for him, which is really cool. It's very sweet. And it's important because he was the reason for Helga getting into metal. So she looks up to him in many ways. And there's a really cool scene, actually, I don't know, maybe at the 6-7 minute mark, something like that shows her sitting on the bus stop bench in her town with her guitar, and then later, like a decade as an adult, I think she's 21 years old now, which was a great way to kind of segue into the present day of the film, which is apparently 1992, by the way. I read that on Wikipedia. I don't remember it saying that, but it does make sense. So, anyways, this is very much a film that focuses on Helga, and her struggling to live a normal life, but she's unable to for obvious reasons. She pretty much spends her time, getting drunk, driving her neighbor's tractor around at night, and pretty much getting kicked out of everywhere she goes, church, her job. She doesn't really care. And while it's amusing, these are all trauma responses. But I also think that, she resents Christianity for reasons that I can understand and also relate to. And while the story, definitely focuses on her as the main character, there's almost a side story with her parents, and their personal journey of, trying to navigate life after a crippling tragedy. It's been 9 years, and they're both unable to move on. I really liked this aspect. It just gave the film all this extra depth. But I do want to take a moment and say that this is not a film with a story that is intentionally depressing. It's sad at times. In fact, the haze of sadness is almost really always around, but it's not a story that wants to depress the viewer. There's a difference, My takeaway is that this is about a family, getting through a devastating tragedy but not alone. And it demonstrates, the importance of family and sticking together and community. And I don't say that lightly. Helga's parents they're just great people. And I felt kind of inspired by them, to be honest. Initially, I thought this was going to be a much, much darker and depressing film. I thought this was going to be one of those movies that just, left me wanting to take a nap for a week. Because I've definitely experienced that with some. I thought there would be maybe, some elements of like violence or like abuse, maybe even child abuse, and it never went in that direction. And honestly, I'm super glad for that. I really am. We have plenty of those movies already. This is for people that actually want to feel some hope, and I occasionally do. The catalyst here, though, kind of like comes in the form of Father Janus, the new priest in the community who's rumored to be gay, which again I thought was an interesting touch. And again, I have to compliment Ragnar Bragason on his storytelling. Janus takes an interest in helping Helga, but she obviously has no interest in anyone from the church, and I get that. It makes sense. But Janus is actually a metal fan himself, and I think that maybe he sees some of himself in Helga. And there's a great scene where he takes off his shirt to reveal a tattoo of Eddie, Iron Maiden's mascot, obviously, if you don't know that, and it's on his shoulder. This, of course, leads to trust, and even more from Helga. And, being someone who opposes religion, I appreciated Janus for representing the humanity side of, what it's supposed to stand for. Religion, that is. So I'm giving Metalhead a 7.5 out of 10. This is probably one of the better films that you likely have never seen or probably not even heard of. The storytelling is fantastic. The acting is great. Even the cinematography is very, very good. Heavy metal fans are obviously going to flock to this one, but I want to urge everyone else to check it out as well, because it really is that good. Ultimately, this is a story about healing and how you need family and community to help you, and it's okay to need help. I really do think that some cool, some cool obscure label or something like that will re-release this at some point, because it needs to be more accessible, not just on a South Korean DVD. This movie is good enough to deserve more wide attention and appeal and all that. So definitely check it out. It's worth a watch. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.
Subscribe right now, please.